Hello, glad you can join us. Here's what we have for you this Wednesday. How a vote to strike could ground your travel plans.
I think this change is very short-sighted.
Plus, changes to Aeroplan that might affect your loyalty.
They understand strength, not weakness.
Plotting next moves during a never-ending trade war.
She's so young and she's so humble, really just something else.
And win or lose, the rising tennis star changing the game.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
If you are planning to fly Air Canada this summer, be aware that flight attendants with the country's largest carrier have voted overwhelmingly in favor of strike action, and it could start as early as August the 16th. Now, there is a tiny glimmer of hope. The union representing Air Canada's 10,000 flight attendants is heading back to the bargaining table in a couple of days. CTV's Judy Trin is with us now. And Judy, what are the sticking point to the negotiations?
Sandy, the union voted 99.7% in favor of striking over issues that have festered for a decade. Mike Abraham has booked a flight to Slovenia for a bike tour. He's scheduled to take off just as Air Canada's flight attendants are poised to strike.
Even if I was to actually try to rebook it now with either with Air Canada or with a competitor, say a European airline, the price would be at least 3 times as much.
Air Canada's 10-year contract with its 10,000 flight attendants is expiring. The union representing the workers says better wages and working conditions are needed. Flight attendants average 35 hours of unpaid work each month.
We're not paid anytime the aircraft is not in motion. So any of the pre-flight checks, mandatory safety briefings, all the required stuff that is done on the ground prior to pushback, as well as the deplaning process.
The workers are getting support from the Conservatives, urging the government to amend the labor code to ensure flight attendants are paid for every minute they're required to be at work from check-in to sign-off. Last year, Air Canada generated operating revenues of more than $22 billion. Thousands of passengers could be impacted if a deal is not reached by August 16th.
This will be a test for the Carney government to see whether they have the intestinal fortitude to let labor relations work its way through this process.
Even though Abraham has been planning his trip for months, he doesn't support government intervention, but does support fair wages for workers.
Being paid for your hours on the job, that I think is a no-brainer. I can't possibly understand why a company wouldn't do that.
In a previous statement, Air Canada said it was committed to reaching a fair and equitable contract with its flight attendants. Both sides returned to the bargaining table on Friday. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Okay, Judy, thank you. Now, as if the potential for a strike isn't enough to frustrate travelers, today we heard that Aeroplan, Air Canada's loyalty program, is changing the way members earn points, and the move isn't going over well with everyone. CTV's Pat Foran takes a closer look at the major transformation.
Starting on January 1st, Aeroplan will overhaul the way its members earn points, and the biggest change means you'll earn based on how much you spend instead of how far you go. Phil McCauley is a frequent flyer and has been an Aeroplan member for the past 20 years. He's concerned business travelers buying more expensive tickets will see the greatest benefits.
But it absolutely benefits people who travel on the max fare class. So people who fly business everywhere are disproportionately benefiting from this program than people who travel, let's say, like a lower fare class.
The majority of our members are going to be better off than they were before.
Air Canada says the changes to the loyalty program will benefit those who engage with the airline and its partners the most. Starting in the new year, you'll earn 1 Aeroplan point per dollar spent. In 2 examples on Air Canada's website, it states if you book a flight between Toronto and Montreal with a base fare of $427, you'll earn 427 Aeroplan points. In another example, if you booked a round trip from Montreal to Paris and the base fare is $1,500, under the current plan you would receive almost 7,000 points, but under the new plan you'll receive 1,500 Aeroplan points. The more you pay, the more points you'll get.
It can't be seen as a positive, but it can't be seen as negative either. It really comes down to the individual, whether these changes are good for you or not.
Rewards Canada, a website that studies loyalty programs, says those who pay more for expensive flights will achieve elite status faster and rack up more points than those who are searching for bargains.
The more you spend with the airline, the more you're going to be rewarded, whether it's elite status or with points earning as well.
The changes are also more in line with other airlines that have also moved to revenue-based models. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Well, firefighting officials are on high alert in Canada's east coast with dangerously dry conditions in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland. The situation in that province described as a tinderbox. CTV's Garrett Barry joins us from the Avalon Peninsula with how officials there are dealing with the crisis. Garrett.
Sandy, with firefighters and water bombers working hard to hold this line here in Conception Bay South and others across the province, provincial officials say they're considering everything that might help stop new fires from erupting.
I'm so disappointed and frustrated and angry.
After hearing reports that multiple people on Newfoundland's Avalon Peninsula have defied a provincial fire ban, Premier John Hogan is vowing to crack down by stiffening penalties for those who are caught breaking the rules.
Minister Haggie said it is nuts. The province is on fire, and we only have so many assets to go around.
Right now, fines can be as low as $75. Hogan says he's considering something way closer to the $25,000 penalty that Nova Scotia is threatening. Hundreds have been forced from their homes in this province, and evacuation advisories grew again today. It's been unseasonably hot, dry, and tensions are rising now too. In Conception Bay South, town staff were sent to monitor a popular beach last night to watch for bonfires, after several were found to be breaking the rules on Monday.
We had to deal with a couple of bonfires in yards last night as well. So, we're just asking people, boys, don't light the fires. Right? Just give it a break for a while. We need a break.
There is practically no rain whatsoever in the forecast for the next week over any of these wildfires. So firefighters will be getting very little natural help. Sandy.
Okay, Garrett, thank you. And as air quality from wildfires remains a problem for much of central Canada, unlike the east, rain is providing some relief in the west. But the situation is also bringing out the best and worst in some after a disturbing discovery. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson on today's developments in the firefight and more. Andrew.
Sandy, better weather is buying crews on the front lines some time. But hundreds of homes remain empty, and we are learning just how close some people have come to losing everything. More than 200 firefighters are working to get a handle on the 5-square-kilometer Wesley Ridge fire, now being called the largest fire threatening homes in Vancouver Island history. And local volunteer crews say saving some of the houses came down to centimeters.
They were at the back door and front door and sides of several properties. Fighting it in our backyard is it's no short of amazing. And the sense of accomplishment that they've had up till today it's been truly life-changing for our department.
A bit of rain has fallen today, but there is no word on a timeline for anyone to return home. The fire danger in the area is extreme, and the province is getting tough on people breaking the rules and getting caught with campfires. The BC Conservation Service handed out close to $30,000 in fines over the recent long weekend. A single ticket for violating the fire ban comes in at more than $1,000. But it wasn't a campfire discovered near the evacuation area getting the most attention. It's this dog found seemingly left for dead, chained to a tree near the fire zone, barking and very thirsty.
Somebody has to be pretty desperate, right? I mean, or in bad mental health, or an evil person, or there's no reason that anyone needs to do this.
The woman who found the dog got a hold of the SPCA, who say the 2-year-old is doing well and very friendly. No sign of the owner or any indication why the dog was left behind. Sandy.
Okay, all right, Andrew. A judge in Quebec has denied bail for 3 men facing terrorism charges. They are accused of plotting to forcibly seize land near Quebec City. Simon Anger-Audet, Marc-Aurel Chabot, and Raphael Lagacé face multiple charges, including facilitating terrorist activity and weapons-related offenses. They will be held in jail while awaiting trial. A fourth man, 33-year-old Matthew Forbes, was granted bail under a long list of conditions. Chabot and Forbes were members of the armed forces at the time of their arrest in July. Well, the Prime Minister was back in Ottawa today strategizing next steps in the trade war with the U.S., meeting with his cabinet and virtually with the premiers, as two top cabinet ministers are still in Mexico, resetting Canada's trade relationship with America's southern neighbor. CTV's senior political correspondent Michael Couture now on the current state of affairs.
Well, Sandy, after a nearly 90-minute meeting with the Prime Minister and his fellow premiers, Ontario's Doug Ford had a simple message for Canadians. Negotiations with the U.S. will be difficult.
Prime Minister Carney, which counter-tariffs?
The Prime Minister was tight-lipped a day after saying he'd consider removing some counter-tariffs on American goods if it would help Canadian industries. While saying he supports Mark Carney, Ontario Premier Doug Ford has a different take.
You can't have tariffs on one side and not the other. I still stand by what I say. Dollar for dollar, tariff for tariff. They understand strength, not weakness.
He was planning to deliver that message this afternoon as the premiers held a virtual meeting with the Prime Minister. Once it ended, Ford's message to Canadians is to buckle up for a rough road ahead.
I'm praying that everything's going to go fine. But if it doesn't, I'm going to ask the people, do you trust President Trump? I don't.
In recent days, Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe has called for Canada to remove or reduce counter-tariffs on all American goods. Some feel like the countrywide resolve is being tested.
As this has dragged on with no obvious resolution in sight, some of that determination is flagging a bit.
In an interview with CTV News on Tuesday, the U.S. ambassador to Canada cautioned that trade talks could be slow over the next weeks as U.S. President Donald Trump focuses on a deal with China. And that's why some trade experts believe Canada should refrain from retaliating.
I do think we have to hold something like a retaliation as a threat in case Trump does decide to hit us with something else.
One example of that unpredictability, President Trump announced an additional 25% tariffs on goods from India because that country is importing Russian oil. India's tariff rate could rise to 50%. Sandy?
Michael Couture in Ottawa. Donald Trump's trade policy is one of the reasons that Claire's, a global retail staple, is filing for bankruptcy protection in the U.S. and soon, the company says, in Canada, with stores in North America staying open during the process. This is the second bankruptcy filing for the bargain accessory company in the last 7 years. The chain's CEO blames increased competition, spending trends, and a shift away from brick-and-mortar retail. Claire's also imports much of its goods from countries which the Trump administration has hit with tariffs. Now, the U.S. president was also briefed today on a frightening situation at a key Army base in Georgia. It is now under control, but for several hours, Fort Stewart was under attack from an active shooter. The man is now in custody, but not until 5 soldiers were injured. Let's bring in CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon. And Joy, walk us through what happened.
Sandy, those 5 soldiers who were shot and injured, 3 needed surgery, but the good news, all of them are expected to recover. Now, the gunman is in custody. He's been identified as an active duty soldier, a 28-year-old sergeant stationed at the base and part of the combat team. Now, apparently, he had a run-in with police for driving under the influence, and it was the brave soldiers on base who tackled him and prevented more injuries. Here's the Brigadier General. Have a listen.
We have identified the alleged shooter as Sergeant Cornelius Radford, an automated logistics sergeant assigned to 2nd Brigade Combat Team. Sergeant Radford has not previously deployed to combat. Sergeant Radford has been interviewed by the Army Criminal Investigation Division and is currently in pretrial confinement
That's one of the big questions, Sandy. How was the shooter able to get a handgun on such a highly secured military base? Soldiers aren't allowed to carry personal weapons on base. Only military police are, especially after the Fort Hood shootings in Texas and, of course, the Navy Yard shootings here in Washington. A scary time when a discharged Navy officer went on a rampage, killing 12 people. Now, the FBI is sending a team to Fort Stewart to help with the military investigation. Sandy?
Joy Malbon in Washington. Thank you, Joy. And the U.S. president wrote on social media today that, quote, great progress has been made in talks towards peace in Ukraine as the clock ticks down to a Trump-imposed deadline. Now, there could also be a meeting between Donald Trump and the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, as early as next week. That comes from the White House. All of this after U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met face-to-face with Putin today.
I think by throwing a little bone to Trump, Witkoff's there, letting Witkoff come back with something, it'll buy them a bit more time to continue to wage war.
Putin and Witkoff spoke for around 3 hours. The Kremlin says the talks were useful and constructive and focused on the conflict and improving U.S.-Russian relations. Donald Trump has threatened Russia with new sanctions if progress isn't made by Friday. One of the darkest days in history marked today with somber ceremonies in Japan. It is exactly 80 years since the U.S. dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima. People gathered near what was the site of the bombing, placing paper lanterns with messages of peace into a nearby river, passing in front of an important peace memorial, a domed building which was the only structure left standing. Bells rang out earlier ahead of a moment of silence at the official ceremony, which was attended by tens of thousands, and where dozens of doves were released into the air as a symbol of peace. The bomb in 1945 destroyed the city, killing 140,000 people. The U.S. dropped a second bomb on Nagasaki on August the 9th. Japan surrendered a few days later, helped to bring an end to the Second World War. China is battling a new outbreak of a virus with thousands of cases reported. Authorities are spraying insecticide and using nets to fight the mosquito-borne chikungunya virus. 7,000 cases have been reported so far, mostly in southern China. There is no specific treatment for the virus, which causes fever and joint pain, though fatalities are rare. Now, U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says he will pull $500 million U.S. from vaccine development. Kennedy says the funding will end for the development of mRNA vaccines, the ones that fight respiratory viruses. He's been critical of the technology, but the American Medical Association has expressed concern with the decision, saying the mRNA COVID vaccines help save lives. And 9 people were sent to hospital with salmonella poisoning after consuming various brands of pistachios and products that contain pistachios. The Public Health Agency of Canada is aware of 52 cases of the illness, the majority in Quebec. Patients range in age from 2 to 89. A recall has now been issued for the products in question, which were sold in Ontario and Quebec and online under the brand names Habibi, Al Mokhtar Food Center, and Dubai. Still ahead, the Canadian taking the tennis world by storm. Victoria Mboko serves up inspiration for young and old. Canadian pride is taking center stage as 18-year-old tennis sensation Victoria Mboko steps onto center court for the semifinal at the National Bank Open in Montreal.
It would be really incredible to see her win the National Bank Open. I mean, now that she's in the semifinals.
From Canada, Victoria Mboko.
The teenage sensation from Burlington, Ontario, faces a stiff challenge in 9th-ranked Elena Rybakina from Kazakhstan, who defeated Mboko 2 weeks ago at a tournament in Washington. However, the atmosphere in Montreal quite different, with momentum and a raucous crowd firmly on Mboko's side.
I think it's been amazing. It's amazing, and she's a really great player. I mean, she's made tremendous progress this year, and if she continues, I mean, I could see her winning some Grand Slams.
Mboko entered the tournament as a wild card entry and is just the third such player to reach the tournament semifinals. The last was Bianca Andreescu in 2019, a fellow Canadian, of course, who went on to win the title. And a German soccer legend is coming to Canada. Thomas Muller has signed with the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Dear Whitecaps supporters, I'm very excited to come to Vancouver. Let's do something special together.
Muller has quite a resume. The 35-year-old is not just a World Cup winner with Germany. He has also won the Champions League twice and the German League title 13 times with his now former club, Bayern Munich. The Whitecaps are currently second in Major League Soccer's Western Conference. After the break, the summer job with sprinkles on top, taking youthful enterprise to a whole new level. Nothing says summer quite like ice cream, sticky fingers, and smiling children. And that's exactly what one young entrepreneur on Prince Edward Island is banking on. She's making the most of her time away from school with a sweet little side business. CTV's Maria Saru is in Brudenell, PEI, with the Queen of Cones herself. Hi, Maria. Hi.
Sandy, this is Roya Cooper.
Hi, Sandy.
She's just 11 years old and already scooping up success here in PEI. When customers ring the bell at Scooper's Dairy Bar, the pint-sized entrepreneur behind the counter
Hi, how can I help you?
is sometimes a surprise.
They think that I'm way older.
Roya Cooper, just 11 years old, runs the shop. Some cash she had saved up helped start it. A small business loan covered the rest.
I thought ice cream was really cool. I loved eating it, and I wanted to start my own business.
It's not her first enterprise. When she was 6, she made French books out of Post-it notes.
She sold those bad boys for $5 a piece to tourists. She loves money, always has.
Roya's parents operate several businesses, including the Brudenell riding stables right next door.
It's unreal.
Super proud.
And she's so good at doing everything.
Scooping can get sticky, and Roya's last employee threw in the towel.
Too much cleaning for her.
So for now, she works 7 days a week. Most of the time, customers leave happy.
I love the ice cream, and the chocolate, of course, is my favorite.
But Roya has learned you can't please everyone.
Some are like, this ice cream scoop isn't so big. You have to redo it.
Her latest creation is nacho ice cream, which comes with a big scoop, sauce, sprinkles, and waffle chips. But her favorite flavor is peanut butter fudge crunch. Roya says she wants to serve many more Sundays in the years to come. Her dream is that the business will grow with her. Sandy.
And no doubt it will. Thanks, Maria and Roya. And thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Your local CTV News is coming up. We'll see you tomorrow, we hope. Bye for now.